is Valley News Live at 4.
Good afternoon, everyone. Soon we'll hear from President Biden as he lays out his administration's next steps as the pandemic rages on. This week, the U.S. hit 650,000 COVID-related deaths. That's according to Johns Hopkins, as the Delta variant continues to spread. This comes as the nation's second largest school system is considering a COVID vaccine mandate for students. Skylar Henry reports from the White House.
President Biden's plan for tackling the COVID pandemic is a six-step approach, focusing on public health, schools, and the economy.
What our objective is from the federal government is to continue to take bold and ambitious steps to get more people vaccinated and protect more people.
The president signed an executive order requiring federal executive branch workers be vaccinated. Another signed executive order extends the same standard to employees of contractors that do business with the federal government.
There will be limited exceptions for legally recognized reasons, such as disability or religious objections. If a federal worker fails to comply, they will go through the standard HR process, which includes counseling and face disciplinary action.
The White House says the Labor Department is developing a rule that businesses with more than 100 employees require vaccination or weekly testing. The administration is also calling on states to adopt vaccination requirements for employees that work at schools. Last week, more than 252,000 children nationwide tested positive for COVID. The Los Angeles School Board is considering mandating vaccines for students 12 and older in order to attend in-person classes.
There isn't measles and mumps and rubella in our schools because we vaccinate and we require it. It's a mandate. This is a mandate to save lives.
Meanwhile, the NFL is touting its vaccination efforts, with more than 93% of players and 99% of team staff vaccinated. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Dallas Cowboys kick off the new season Thursday night, though Cowboys lineman Zach Martin is out after he tested positive for COVID-19. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
President Biden will raise the issue of COVID vaccinations with other world leaders when they meet at the UN General Assembly later this month. Now here's Hutch with a first look at your forecast. Hutch?
Thanks, Stacy. Good afternoon, everyone. As we head into the evening hours, we look back 1 year ago when we had freezing temperatures and frost across the valley. A few pictures from last year to prove exactly how cool things were looking last year. Here's one that was shared with us at the thermometer in the Grigla area, approaching that 25-degree mark to start the day. And this is Moorhead with the rooftops showing the frost out there. Well, this morning's temperatures felt a little better to Hutch as we started out in the 40s, low 40s at that up in the far north. Quiet, clear here in the south. We do have a few clouds and a couple of sprinkles showing up on the radar, quickly zipping northwest to southeast. So we can't rule them out, but I wouldn't really plan on anything too wet out there across northwest Minnesota. It is cooler there, closer to 70 degrees. We're talking about the heat is on out to the west. That's heading our way for tomorrow. But for tonight, Stacy, plan on temperatures that will sneak down into those 50s as we go through the overnight hour. It looks quiet. I'll have hour-by-hour details on the weekend outlook ahead in a moment.
Much better than freezing. Thanks, Hutch.
It is.
Now onto a story we've been investigating for you for months. Those who attended what was supposed to be a taco and margarita festival earlier this summer can expect refunds to hit their bank accounts very soon, if you haven't already. Matt Becker, owner of Wicked Good Time, was contracted by the event organizer Adam Dabraze to staff the May 1st event. Becker's team has been working on refunds since the festival went south shortly after it began. Becker says a mass email just went out to those who attended the event with instruction on how to ask for refunds. He says the approved refunds will hit event goers' bank accounts automatically. A Jamestown man has been arrested after police say he tried to run someone over with his car. Police were called to a home for a domestic violence situation yesterday where a woman said 71-year-old Floyd Tony was trying to run her over. He was arrested for terrorizing, reckless endangerment, and attempted aggravated assault. Police say he drove onto the boulevard trying to hit the woman as she was running away. He initially took off, but police caught up with him on I-94 near Mapleton. Authorities in Clearwater County say pipeline protesters filled a road with junk and tied themselves to it. Authorities say on Tuesday they went to 470th Street and found it blocked with a boat, barrels filled with concrete, a flipped car, and people sitting tied together. After telling the people to leave, deputies ended up arresting 23 of them at the scene. Getting everyone unconnected and in squad cars took the department 7 hours. Then they had to clean up the mess. The people arrested are from across the country, some from Maine, Illinois, Texas, and South Dakota. They're all in several different jails on charges of public nuisance and obstructing the legal process. New for you now at 4, a Good Samaritan as well as a Beltrami County Sheriff's deputy are being credited for saving someone found unresponsive by a capsized canoe near Little Turtle Lake this morning. The deputy stopped at a home near the scene and told them he needed a boat. Homeowner Glenn Linseth not only handed over his boat, but helped Deputy Brandon Newhouse find that victim and hold him above water. The victim was taken to the hospital. Paramedics say he had an anaphylactic shock from a possible bee sting. A U.S. official confirms the Taliban has agreed to allow 200 people, Americans and other foreigners, to leave Afghanistan. The official says the U.S. is pressing the militant group to continue to release more people this week as cities across the country start grassroots efforts to help evacuees. Natalie Brand reports from Capitol Hill.
The first international passenger flight carrying Americans and other foreigners departed from Kabul to Doha Thursday, more than a week after the last American troops left the country.
Certainly today's departure of this Qatar Airways charter was a welcome step. It is certainly something that we were glad to see happen.
The flight marked progress in talks between the U.S. and Afghanistan's new Taliban leaders since the group took power last month.
This is not a favor we need or seek from the Taliban. This is a commitment that the Taliban has made.
Earlier this week, Secretary of State Blinken said it was believed there were around 100 Americans still wanting to leave the country. It's unclear how many Afghan allies will be able to get out.
The Biden administration estimates around 65,000 vulnerable Afghans will be brought to the U.S. by the end of the month. That includes some unaccompanied children.
This family cried tears of joy inside Houston's Bush Airport Wednesday.
I was very worried about all of them.
4 of the younger children were orphaned when their mother died in last month's terror attack as the family waited to board a flight to the U.S. It took 2 weeks, but their aunt and cousins were finally located in Texas.
We are sad and happy at the same time because they made it here. That's why we're happy, but we're sad because their mom couldn't make it.
In Indiana, this organization is working with the Defense Department to provide essentials like diapers and toys for Afghan refugees now living in the U.S.
They've left their country, and for all intents and purposes, they'll never go back.
A much-needed fresh start in a new country. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
Another air charter flight out of Kabul is in the works for tomorrow. Children with disabilities often can't enjoy public playgrounds because they're not handicap accessible. One group in Moorhead is hoping to change that, but they need your help. City leaders in Moorhead are hoping to raise $1 million for a playground that will provide wheelchair access and ramps. So far, they've raised a little more than $100,000.
This inclusive playground is kind of meant to be a space that everyone can kind of play together. Some of the plans would be a recreation space with like covered play decks, swings, sensory play equipment.
An event to help with the build just began at Gooseberry Park. That'll continue until 8 tonight. There are bounce houses, face painting, a silent auction, dinner, and a DJ. An award-winning collection could be yours. The Krinke family has been farming in North Dakota for 115 years and also collecting. But Saturday, they'll be auctioning off their collection of classic cars and memorabilia. The immense collection includes rare model cars and trucks, award-winning restoration and classic collectible gas pumps, as well as the automotive industrial signs to go with them. The pieces not only tell a story of the family and their passion for tinkering with and restoring cars, but the pieces also tell a little bit of history.
Part of it was to show the kids, how it was back then, the young folks. And we think that's important to help keep a little history going.
To check out more of the cars and items up for auction, you can visit the Vanderbrink Auctions website. Valley News Live's parent company, Gray Television, is partnering with the Salvation Army to help raise funds for those impacted by Hurricane Ida. Join us for a special North Dakota Today tomorrow at 9 a.m. on KVLY. Hurricane Ida made landfall in Louisiana August 29th as a Category 4 storm with winds hitting more than 150 miles per hour, making it one of the strongest hurricanes to impact the region. We've all seen the devastation left behind. The people who live there, their families and businesses have a long road to recovery ahead of them. Text IDA to 51555 to make a donation to the Salvation Army. 100% of your donation will be applied to the Hurricane Ida disaster relief operation. To help launch the Lift Up Louisiana campaign, Gray Television is also making a $50,000 donation. Stay with us. Still to come on Valley News Live at 4, a 9/11 widow shares stories of both the horrors and humanity of that day.
And the drought update is in. Take a look at where we sat last week. The extreme and exceptional drought along and north of Interstate 94. The Highway 200 area over the last week saw between 1 and 5 inches of rain. Improvement there. The drought gone in northeast South Dakota. Your hour-by-hour forecast does not include much rain. I'll have all the details next.